Dear partners, dear colleagues and investors into the string transportation technology by Unitsky. Welcome to our today's meeting on the 15th of February. So we started that meeting at 15:15, which is quite symbolic. Right now we have more than 900 people watching us live, considering the fact that a lot of Vietnamese partners and investors are getting ready for the Lunar New Year, because in Asia, nations celebrate New Year differently from Europe and Americas. So I would like to welcome our investors from Vietnam who will be watching the recording of this meeting. So dear friends and colleagues, for starters, before we launch our today's joint meeting, special meeting, let's check the technical part, whether everything is okay with the sound. Please give me a score from 1 to 10. Give me a plus. So I think you can see me. Everything is cool. Let's do our geographical roll call. Let's see what countries we are from. Just give me the name of the country or the city. I see Kyrgyzstan, Italy, England, Kazakhstan, Dnieper, Ukraine, Germany, Belarus, Russia. Then we have Russia again. We have China too. Well, it's going so fast that I cannot read it all. So we have Kyrgyzstan again. We have Belarus again, Minsk. We have Nigeria, Smolensk, Russia, Samara, Sofia, Moldova, Boston, Moscow, Estonia, the Netherlands, Italy, Vietnam, Rostov-on-Don, which is Russia, St. Petersburg, Norway. So we have dozens, probably hundreds of countries. Well, at least hundreds of countries will be watching the recording of today's meeting, because today we're going to have a special meeting. And at today's meeting, we will have the pleasure of talking to Dr. Unitsky live, and we're going to discuss the questions that we already started discussing. It has become a tradition while we are optimizing the funding of the GTI group of companies. Dr. Unitsky is going live with us in that important period for the development of the technology. We're going to continue that series of meetings. Last meeting, Dr. Unitsky and I talked about transitioning to the scaling of the technology and why at the industrial scale we're changing the financial architecture, which we are observing right now. And also, on the same note, last meeting on Thursday, we've looked quite in detail the memorandum of the group of companies of GTI that published the information that it stopped its cooperation with the investment partner that is called Skyworld Community. And of course, quite a lot of questions appeared related to that topic, well, which was expected. And also we will also explain what changes in practical terms and what remains unchanged in the group of companies GTI and its strategy, and what remains unchanged in terms of crowd investing. And the first thing that the investors are asking, who were the clients of SWC, what will happen to their pre-IPO shares? Colleagues, let me be direct with you. I emphasized it last time. So what happened is the termination of cooperation with the platform, but it doesn't mean that you lost your rights as investors. Your shares do not go anywhere. They're not cancelled. Your participation is not cancelled because you have been added to the shareholders registry, internal registry of GTI. So it is very important to understand one simple logical thing. An investment platform is just a fundraising instrument. That's what Dr. Unitsky also said when he commented on the termination of cooperation. So as a fundraising instrument, it can take different shapes and forms. So any platform can choose to follow their own course and projects, but investors' rights, they stay within the corporate system of GTI, and the memorandum that we looked into directly states that all the obligations of GTI group of companies before investors will be preserved. I'm talking about the investors also of SWC. Their names are added to the registry according to the standard procedure. But it is also very important to point out that there were quite a lot of questions related to the purchases made through that platform not so long ago, in December, November, for example, people purchased installments. Well, here a lot will depend on how the management of SWC will behave, because the investment packages that were purchased through that platform, SWC will have to transfer the money to GTI, and after the transfer of those payments, the names of the investors will be added to the registry. And we hope that this procedure will be held diplomatically and correctly. So this is our expectations. As for the obligations and legal requirements performed by GTI, it is protected by law. I'm talking about the obligations of GTI. So what else, dear partners? Here we are solidifying and strengthening our fundraising efforts through the current RSW systems, and we're getting ready for the launch of the Micron Global platform, which is to happen on the 26th of February, 26/02/2026. It will be the official start of the registrations on the updated marketing platform. And respectively, there will be individual separate instruments and customer support and management systems and so on. So as far as the operational part is concerned, we've summed up the investment part. Now, moving on to the operational part, this is something that we haven't yet had time to discuss in detail. Here, dear partners, I wanted to tell you that currently the most interesting thing starts happening, because today we will learn from Dr. Unitsky what kind of managerial changes have been made or are being made at the current moment. And in order to hear the answers to all of those questions, we have invited Dr. Unitsky to our meeting as the author of UST Technology and the chief designer of the UST Incorporated. And I am sincerely grateful to Dr. Unitsky for finding time on Sunday to talk to us live and to answer our questions that we're going to ask him. Dr. Unitsky, it is with great pleasure that I'm inviting you to our meeting. I see you already. Welcome. Greetings. Hello, dear friends, colleagues, partners. Well, first of all, our classical implementation of string transportation projects keeps on working as usual, so business as usual. And we're scaling up our technology, and the fact that, and we are still using such instruments as PPPs, concessions, bank project funding, participation of private partners and investors, federal and regional programs. all of it is still within our arsenal. Moreover, a number of projects will be launched using those funding methods. That's a global marketing practice, including in the transportation infrastructure sector. And we are quite familiar with it. The idea of scaling through the restructuring of corporate organization structure is my idea. It has been maturing for quite some time, and now finally it has come to fruition. And it is not a replacement of the current system. It's like an addendum. It allows us to speed up, strengthen, and expand. And here I would like to explain it probably. Yes, Dr. Unitsky, I wanted to clarify. Do I understand correctly that what you're talking about right now, that process is part of that strategy and that format that will allow the UST technology to scale up and to speed up the scaling? Yes, that's, as far as I understand, our meeting is all about. Well, at least on my side. For me to reveal the details to our investors. Yes, exactly, Dr. Unitsky. So we are at the scaling stage of the development of our technology, transportation infrastructure technology, and why it speeds up the process. Well, if you take traditional approaches like I used for dozens of years, we were looking for customers in different countries, different locations. We had several meetings with presidents. I personally had meetings with presidents, with governments, with prime ministers, ministers, governors, dozens of governors in different countries, mayors of cities, and so on. We were looking for support, looking for customers. That was the traditional approach. And long term, it will yield result, but it raises quite a lot of questions from potential customers. Well, at first, when the technology wasn't really there, we just had blueprints and images and my scientific papers and patents. People were asking, will the car fall? Will the string break? Will the wind blow it off? What about relaxation of the string? What about extreme colds and extreme high temperatures? Well, there were kind of thousands of questions. And all of it was postponed until later. But when we launched the current stage, I'm talking about the crowd investing process, which started funding the technology, and we started having tracks, string tracks in brick and mortar, or metal and mortar, I guess. We now have a whole series of cars. One of them is behind me. It's a Unibike, the first car. It started running 2 years after we received the land in Dubai, which is a unique development and construction speed. Hyperloop took 10 years and failed to show anything for it. And we launched a car that was certified later on. And our line has already 17 models, different types and shapes: cargo, urban passenger, high speed, suspended, elevated, in that line, and five of them have been already certified. And when we had it, there were quite a lot of questions. Where are guarantees that it will work for 10 years and it will not break and fall in 5 years? Where is the certification of the complexes and not just individual cars? Where are the standards that we can use to design, build, and operate? Again, we had to go and convince potential customers, increasing number of potential customers, that this is a long-term process. It took time, and it is taking time. But then the national standards were adopted for our technology. Then the first operating track appeared, first targeted projects, Unilight in my farm. People started saying, well, it kind of works, and the standards are always there, but you build it on your own land. You are your own customer. Will others order it as well? When you show us other customers, probably we will also place an order for it. And that's how we received a second targeted project in Belarus. And a very serious customer, we're talking about Presidential Administration Office. I'm talking about the President of the Republic of Belarus. And now we started the construction at that project. We're doing our first civil works. The digging works are being done for the foundation. Well, the foundation will not be, the concrete will not be poured yet because it's negative temperature outside. But very soon, when it gets warmer, the foundation will be poured, the supports will be erected, the stations will be built. But at the same time, that project is not an individual project. It's part of a bigger project. I'm talking about the resort complex. It's part of the resort complex. But still, it's a serious project. We had to order peer review, expert peer review. We had to go through all the regulation authorities. It's just two stations and a track between them, but still, we already designed the entire system, and we keep working on the implementation of other projects in the pipelines, and still there are questions raised. And it's all long-term, I repeat, although in our pipeline we have more than 200 projects, and quite a lot of them are close to the first stages to be implemented. Dr. Unitsky, allow me to clarify regarding the project in Belarus. Do investors understand you correctly that this project is still like a business card of our technology in this specific country? Because after going through the entire cycle from design to commissioning, it's going to be a huge indicator and a performance indicator, not just for Belarus, but for other countries of the world, and to show people that the technology is viable for bigger scale projects. It's kind of a pilot project, but at the same time, it's like a business card. Should we consider it this way? Yes, we should, could and should, of course. Because the cost and the size of the project doesn't matter, because the technology is the same, whether it's a 100-meter track or a kilometer, 100-kilometer or 10,000-kilometer tracks. The technology is the same. The car models are the same. The string rails are the same. The supports are the same, so the cost of the project doesn't really matter. But nobody will risk their money by ordering a huge project, because everyone is afraid of risks. What if something goes wrong? What if something was not taken into account? So it's important to implement successfully the first project, then an external project, which first we implemented our own project, then we have a second external, third-party customer. I'm talking about a very serious governmental agency, President's office, and they couldn't place an order without checking the technology, without conducting a very serious peer review. And this is a very serious project that will have to be commissioned this year. We need to be quick, and we need to showcase the technology in operation and go through the entire stages. Well, we did already the design documentation. It was reviewed, it was approved, and now construction works started. Now we're doing the construction, then we'll do the start-up and commissioning, and then there will be a peer review in accordance with all the permitting documents, and then we will put it into bring it into operation. So I think the ribbon cutting will be done by the president of the country himself once the project is put into operation, which will be quite memorable. Of course it will, but it's not just for Belarus. Because Ford did not create a car only for the roads of Boston, New York, or Washington, D.C. No, we're not creating transportation for just Belarus or for the presidential office. We're creating a project, technological project that can be scaled up in any country of the world, doesn't matter where, because we're showcasing the technology and we're certifying the technology in two locations, in extreme cold location with snow and ice, and in tropics, in the Emirates, where there is extremely hot temperature, where you have sea salt in the air and in the ground, in the soil, in close proximity to the sea, and we're certifying it there as well. So the technology can be implemented and scaled up in any country of the world. But I'm talking about a different thing here. I'm talking about how to go through the entire scaling journey, which is a very complex journey that I've been walking for 30 years now. The first projects were presented by me very long ago. I can name them. For example, a high-speed UST project, Moscow, Minsk, Warsaw, Berlin, Brussels, London, Paris, was not just presented by me. It was a whole report done by me at the international conference on the second corridor. That conference was held in Minsk in 1997, almost 30 years ago. And it was not just a report or a feasibility study. Back then, I was supported by the president of the Belarus. I'm talking about the second pan-European or great transportation corridor. And then the resolution was added, the report was added to the resolution of the conference, which is to consider the string transportation technology as part of the second pan-European great transportation corridor that would then, after Moscow, go to Nizhny Novgorod, Yekaterinburg, etc. So let's take another memorable, important project. In Vietnam, it was high-speed track, Hanoi-Ho Chi Minh, around 1,500 kilometers long. And I was telling Prime Minister of Vietnam about this project back in 2010, 16 years ago. And I can continue. For example, another important project is the ring road around Australia. I presented this project in Australia at the governmental level. It was in 2009, which would change the economy of the country. Imagine creating a rail track along the coast. Mainly, it's the eastern coast, and the western coast is poorly populated, and the northern part is poorly populated, and the middle of Australia is not populated at all. And then we can connect that ring, different points at the ring, by straight roads going through the middle, if necessary. I can go on and go on. Well, Dr. Unitsky, allow me to interfere here and probably sum up what you've just said. Indeed, throughout many dozens of years, you presented the technology at very different levels. And back then, the technology hadn't been yet certified, hadn't been put into operation like in Aquarel Park. But currently, the technology has already been has already addressed all technological risks, and we have customers, several dozens of customers that are seeking to implement their projects using our services. So there is a whole stream of customers lining up and lots of projects in the pipeline, but it's not enough for us to scale up, correct? And do I understand correctly that despite the interest shown by real customers, you would still like to make sure that the string transportation technology would be scaled up more efficiently and fastly, rather than just walking from ministry to ministry, from office to office. Yes, of course, we have marketing representative office in different countries doing their work, but do understand correctly that by launching the optimization of funding plan aimed to scale up the technology itself, that funding optimization plan will allow us to speed up that process. So what is your vision? What is your proposed solution? In addition to the already existing demand for our projects, but do you have any new thoughts to share? Well, Maxim, you put it quite correctly. Well, except for some nuances. So while I'm saying this, why I'm looking at this from this angle, well, I now activated in myself an anti-crisis manager. So I'm being critical towards traditional methods of project implementation. We could continue working, but it's still a long-term process. And even when the projects are certified, and then when first projects will be running, people will be asking, what about 10-year service, 20-year service? What if it falls down in 50 years or 70 years? Because people are conservative. The mentality of people is conservative, especially governmental officials, the decision makers. They're very conservative. They're afraid of any changes, and they want to use traditional technologies only. I suggested that ring track around Australia, and they ordered the feasibility study for the railroad southeast of Australia, I think from Perth to Brisbane. It wasn't a ring track then like numbering dozens of thousands of kilometers. It was 1,500 kilometers. And feasibility study back then, 20 years ago, cost $30 million. So they calculated that the project would cost $50 billion. They shed a tear, there is no money, they folded, they shut it down. Still, they wanted to do it traditionally. No money, we shut it down, and now they're going back to the idea of building high-speed railroad. That's how governmental officials think. That's why I wanted to take a different approach, different angle, from the angle of the perspective of people who are afraid to make a decision, not from our perspective, from their perspective. And if we take Hanoi Ho Chi Minh project. Yes, let's take the Vietnamese project as an example. Let me tell you what's being done right now, and then what we're supposed to be doing. Okay, what is being done right now? They're still planning, the government is planning to build a high-speed railroad. Doesn't matter which, Chinese, Japanese, but something that already is being used. And by the very modest estimations, it's going to cost at least $70 billion, probably even more. So there will be quite a lot of problems there. First of all, that high-speed railroad will have to use embankments and lots of sand. And Vietnam is a country with quite a lot of rains and quite developed agriculture, where land is very, very expensive. And imagine that land will have to be used for the embankments, for the railroad cushion, right? And it will take hectares of land, and every hectare costs dozens or hundreds of millions of dollars if it's agricultural land. And they will still do that, but they don't have money for it. There is no money in the budget for it, and they're thinking how to implement that. And against that background, even if we have our viable technology, they will still be sticking to their old logic. They would like to have the traditional railroad, but we will eventually win in 5, 10, 20 years, but we will win. And it applies to any large-scale project. I suggested the same for the United States. I suggested the ring track around Africa, different continents. There are hundreds of such projects in the pipeline, and there is progress and moving forward. with those projects. But when we found ourselves in the crisis situation with funding, we were at the verge of extinction. Like, I felt I was standing on the verge of an abyss, and I understood that we could lose everything because we were let down by our investment partners who decided to go into the open sea and simply set us up. Well, that's how it's called, setting us up. They abandoned us, and they said, it's now you're on your own. And the only way out for us was to address our investors and tell them, we're going to come out of this crisis. For this, we will create a safety net, financial safety net, so that we can follow a different path. Back then, I didn't disclose any details. Now I'm going to disclose you the details. So, where all those risks will be addressed, including the governmental officials, who will not be in a position to decide whether they want to build a road or not. It will be us who decide whether we want to build something or not. If we want to, we'll build. If not, not. I'm not going to give you a specific name of the country because we have quite a lot of potential locations. We just need to understand the direction and the format of your vision. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. So let's not name the country. So it's a project 1,000 kilometers long, which would cost around $10 billion. If you take any high-speed system, Hyperloop or maglev or anything else, it would cost $150 billion, whereas our project would cost $10 billion. So you see the difference. And the railroad transport or any traditional transport is not cost efficient. I know as a transportation engineer, and I know why road transportation, car transportation, won over railroad transportation, although railroad transportation is more cost effective. Millions of people die in car traffic accidents and thousands in railroad transportation traffic. But cars won over trains not because of money, but because it was from door to door. Railroads cannot go to your doorstep. You still have to get to the railway station. And cars are everywhere. Asphalt is everywhere. That's the biggest advantage of cars. And the second advantage, a car as a transportation vehicle is not an industry itself, it's part of the industry. Cars need roads, need gas stations, and I can purchase a car. A family can purchase a car, but a person cannot buy a train. So that's why cars won over trains. And string transportations have those qualities of a car. They can go literally to the people's doorsteps in linear cities. And people will be able to be owners of string transportation rail cars. And those vehicles will be cheaper than cars, with the speeds of up to 500 kilometers per hour, with energy consumption 5 or 10 times lower. Of course, the cost efficiency of such transportation will be lower. Cost efficiency will be higher, and the energy consumption will be lower. And accidents will be way lower, and everything will be unmanned. So while traveling, you'll be able to read a book, do something else, do your business. It's a completely different type of transportation. But that transportation alone is not needed. It is needed as part of the infrastructure. And car and trains became so widespread because they started changing civilization. And the construction of railroads in the United States, by the way, happened because new cities started popping up. The industry started popping up. You had to create or build rails and ties, and new jobs were created. Life started prospering. And that's why most of the railroads, the United States is the country with the longest Railroads, I think 350,000 kilometers. Russia goes second, I think, with 150,000 kilometers. But then when cars appeared, they started pushing away railroads for the reasons I mentioned. And right now in the United States, cars dominate and railroads stagnate, and probably they will disappear eventually. But then string transportation will come up later, but they don't know it yet, the Americans, they don't know about it. But they will soon know about it. So we shouldn't just build tracks, we need to build new cities. We need to create new jobs, we need to develop urbanized or landscape territories of a region, of a country, and the entire planet. That's what correct approach is all about. We need to build infrastructure and move away from the word of transportation, because we are competitors to every traditional transportation. We are hated in every Ministry of Transportation in any countries because they operate old type of transportations, and they are afraid of new transportation, as devil is afraid of holy water. And we need not to build just individual tracks, but transportational logistical corridors. There is a urban track. Well, here I think we should emphasize that approach that you've mentioned just now, transportation logistical corridor plus infrastructure. No, I didn't want to use the word transportation. It should be string logistical corridor. Logistics is not just transportation. Here's the thought I wanted to convey. But use the correct terminology, Maksym. Okay, I shall. So you've created a new type of transportation. That approach is indeed what we've been talking about for 11 years, that it's a sector-shaping industry with the bigger scale. Yes, Maksym, you're right, but in part. You again using the word transportation. So, Maksym, do not interrupt me, please. But you know that we have the logic of linear cities also created. And also in Aquarel, Farmstead, we showed a cluster of linear cities with eco houses, with gardens and orchards on the roof that can feed the family that lives in that house. Feed them with organic food, environmentally clean food. And also I organized and implemented the Utera program. It's the fertility elixir, because it was first conceived many years ago when I wanted to use the planetary system to bring harmful production to the outer orbit, outer space. But to live there, you need to have air, you need to have organic food, that you need to have gardening and agriculture in the space. And that's where the Utera originated from that concept. Also, on top of that, I can add the new type of energy. It's the solar, relicto solar buyer power engineering. A lot of people are afraid of such terms as relicto solar buyer bio power engineering. But the meaning is quite simple. That power engineering is based on brown coal. And brown coal is not your regular black coal. It's former trees, and trees that grew millions of years ago, that took the solar energy and preserved, and took the minerals from the soil, which is 86 chemical elements that any living organism consists of, including us. And we have more than 1 trillion cells in our body. We have the entire table of chemical elements. It's like an entire factory. So minerals plus energy. So we can take the ancient relictal solar energy, the energy that the sun gave millions of years ago, and we burn that energy and we get heat. And minerals are used in our biotechnology, and not by just burning them. We rework it into humus. So all the exhausts, including the smoke and slag, all of it is recycled, and we get the heat, electrical energy, and humus, which makes sure the land is fertile, because soil is fertile thanks to humus, to those special elements and minerals. And our biohumus, Uterra, is a unique product. And life is such a thing that when plants appeared, plants needed food, and nature started preserving food in the form of humus. And the key word here in non-soluble salts, and some of those, and unfortunately plants sometimes cannot use minerals that cannot be solved in the water. Right? For example, when you're making preserves, for example, pickles, you cannot eat the pickles with the jar it is stored in, right? And to open the jar, you need to use, in that metaphor, our microorganisms. I'm talking about a symbiosis of one cell and multi-cell organisms. And inside of us, we have around 40 trillion beneficial microorganisms, and they're also present in the soil. So fertility is given not only by humus, but by beneficial microorganisms, and that's how we created our humus. No one has it. We collected all the beneficial microorganisms and infuse it in our Uterra project, where we have all the necessary minerals and microorganisms, thousands of them. At the same time, the density of microorganisms is 10 times higher than in the most high quality black earth. We have like probably 10 times more microorganisms in 1 kilogram of our Uterra rather than in high quality black earth, which can we use by turning even deserts into oases by adding 1% of Uterra. So we can build corridors through deserts and create orchards and gardens along the way, even in deserts. And do it quickly, not in the long run. And the payback is quite quick here, 1 year only. So Dr. Unitsky, allow me to interrupt here at this particular stage. Right now, you've quite well put it and described the scale, the sheer scale and the benefits of all the projects and inventions that you came up with. They help implement a new sector. Can we now use it as a segue to the practical implementation? Maxim, again, I think you misunderstand it. And the summary here is different. I use it as a complex, as a comprehensive system. Because if we're gonna focus only on transportation, then we'll be walking from office to office, ministry to ministry. And here, the UST transportation is the key core around which everything will be built. But it's just the core. That's not the entire complex, the entire technology. Here we have all technologies involved, not just transportation. Infrastructure, for example, urbanism, urban development, correct, linear, adequate cities, cluster-type cities, clusters, pedestrian cities that would create ideal environment for life, that would create jobs. Moreover, where you would have organic farming at an arm's reach, that would feed people who live in that cluster. So we should be talking about this as well, not just transportation. And power engineering, because you need power for transportation, for cities, for life. So at least you need 2 kilowatts of power per inhabitant, in order to be independent from nature, for you to be able to operate your fridge, your TV set, your computer, your blender, kitchen appliances, all of it consumes energy, and you have to have enough of it for heating, for lighting. So you need to have certain power engineering in place as well. So let's change the approach, all of us. Let's switch mentality, that right now we can approach all of it from a different angle and propose it from a different angle. The way we offer the scaling program with the core as UST as the core. So let me finish the logic, okay? Dr. Unitsky, I absolutely agree with you. So let me finish, Maksym. Let me finish first, Maksym. Again, if we follow that logic and use that logic and go through office to office, from ministry to ministry, they will call us crazy. They will simply won't believe it. So we're going to use a different method here. So the GTI, Unitsky String Transportation group of companies have all those competencies that I've just mentioned. We have companies that are already have been 10 years in the market. I'm talking about string tracks there, transportation tracks. We're talking about urban development, linear cities, competence in biopower engineering, organic farming. So all of those areas that I talked about. So let's create a corporation out of those companies. It's an open joint stock company. Let's create a corporation without asking anyone's permission and focus not just on track building, but on infrastructural development. And by having the safety net that we're creating, we will use that safety net for our first steps. And then we'll start working without asking anyone's permission, because nobody will prevent you from establishing a joint stock company. For example, if we decide to build Hanoi-Ho Chi Minh track, there will be no one to prevent us from doing it if we're doing it out of our own pocket. And we will be our own customers of pre-design work. The feasibility study. We spent dozens of years to get our first money. In Dubai, back in 2018, we signed an agreement. And we still haven't convinced them to pay $200,000 for the feasibility study, because they're afraid of making that step. And here we don't have to ask anyone. We have the startup capital. We can order the work ourselves from our company that we own, the pre-design work. We can order the business plan and the feasibility study ourselves without asking anyone's permission. And then we get the money on the accounts of the UST Incorporated, and we can start the work. And also, through crowd investing platforms, operational costs are covered already. So the money coming as payment for orders will immediately be used as profits, for profit sharing, because the operational costs have already been covered. I'm talking about rent payment, salaries, utilities, etc. That part is covered. So, and the money coming from the orders will be immediately used for remuneration, for companies, for payouts, instead of waiting for tens of years while those big projects are implemented that cost them tens of billions of dollars, and will start generating profits for our investors right away, to pay remuneration right away, not somewhere later, without even laying the first brick. And without putting into operation, we can already start generating profits. And then, when we have that, everything working like a well-oiled machine, we go to the government and we tell them, we don't need your money anymore. For the first stage, we already have it. For example, we tell them, we already have the feasibility study and the design for Hanoi-Ho Chi Minh. You want to build a railroad track? Do you have $150 billion? No, probably not, but we can build it for 10 billion. You can place an order without. And then we get listed right away, because we're a joint stock company and we can go public. And since we created a corporation consisting of companies that have been in the market for 10 years or more, it's not going to be a shell company, an empty company. It's going to be a company with experience in every competence. And we can tell the Vietnamese government, we're not going to build just a track, we're going to build a corridor. And we'll have living space along the corridor, residential area. We're going to improve the agriculture. We're going to make improved power engineering. We will have better communication technologies. The communication technologies alone will allow to pay off the entire project sooner than transportation, because mobile internet market is trillions of dollars. It's even more expensive than transportation. And we can pocket part of that, those revenues. And since the corporation is ours, we established it, right? So our companies, UST Incorporated in particular, will have a stake in that corporation, at least 25%. And it will own that track. Because in the old logic, we're not owners. We just make money from design and construction sometimes, but not operation of the track. But if we are the customers and UST is part of GTI, then we will make money not only from design, because we will be doing 100% of the design, but we will also do the construction and receive our revenues. We will be participating in all other works, including the operation of the track, and also get our revenues from that. And because the corporation will generate income not only from just tracks, but linear cities, the eco houses, from agriculture, from power engineering. So our investors who invest in the string transportation will receive income from all those technologies combined, as I said before, not just string transportation. As I said, don't worry, dear investors, I will never forget you. It is thanks to you that we were able to do that. And you will get more even than you expect to get. And the high speed will be there as well. Because yes, investors funded only 1% of the high-speed transportation. You can argue about it or not, but we don't have any high-speed test track. We didn't have enough money to build it. And to create a prototype is not enough. You need to build an actual long track to test it. But we're going to build high-speed tracks as well. And our investors will also share in the profits from the high-speed projects as well. A 5% stake, if you remember. And imagine we do this project for $15 billion. And if you do the developer's part, so it's 20-30 billion, that will be paid off by themselves. It's not part of the track. So the income here, the revenues here, are at least at the design stage $2-3 billion. Billion dollars. So costs probably will be 500 million, and the rest will be net profits. Name me another project with such a quick payoff time. You won't. And it's impossible to get such revenues from a transportation project. But the system that I'm proposing, that I will implement, will be such a quick paying system complex. Not everyone likes it, but I don't really care about their preferences. I will do it anyways. Yeah, quite a lot of people for the last 11 years didn't like your offer regarding the crowd investing, that you can use that fundraising method to create a sector-shaping project. But as 11 years of experience showed, you were absolutely right. And now your experience is being copied by others, but you became a true true pioneer, the founder of that process. So you're going to be the pathfinder here as well. And I think the result will be way bigger than just creating transportation. Well, that's what I was saying. Well, I gave you it in a nutshell without going into much technical details. Yes, probably we shouldn't go into much technical details. I just wanted to give you a general picture. We move from tracks to land development, territory development. It's a completely different story. And we are approaching it not as business owners, but as companies working for the benefit of the entire state and government. And usually they respect such companies and they will welcome us with open arms. And if we think just about building tracks, then we will be rejected and people will resist us. So we're now implementing it in one of the countries. We're now choosing the exact location. And the second project will be in Vietnam, I think, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, probably even this year. I'm sure our Vietnamese investors will be very happy about it because they have a very active stance in terms of supporting the GTI in terms of funding and supporting the implementation of the technology in their own country. I see quite a lot of Zoom reactions from Vietnam, lots of hearts in our Zoom right now. So, Maksym, I wanted to clarify here one thing. We received support from private investors. Some people say, why would you fund a financial pyramid? Because that's how many call us. We have no support from the government yet. They will support us eventually, but probably in many years, because we had visits from governmental delegations, and it will take us a couple of more years for the officials to believe us eventually, because all they say that we don't have money probably one day in the future. But now we're gonna follow a different logic without asking anyone. We'll create a corporation and we'll announce that we're going to implement a corridor, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh. Well, talking about Vietnam. And then we go to the stock market, purchase shares, come into the project. We have a technology, we have the competencies, we have the experience, and we're gonna help your government save at least $150 billion. And that's why the government will support it as well, because now we have a different story to tell. We will not be dependent on anyone. But here, we need that first money, the financial safety net. Without it, we won't be able to do that. I hope that's clear. That's why it's important for us to create it. So talking about the Vietnam, yes, because we need that safety net to come with this mega project to Vietnam and do it this year if we have big enough safety net. And I can assure you that we will come to Vietnam with this logic this year alone. Already, nobody will be now away, believe me. Dr. Unitsky, do I understand correctly that we can already state it as a fact that thanks to that, due to that situation that we had early this year, well, to a degree, a crisis situation, and fate-bearing situation, I'd say, where we could, well, it's not fate-bearing, we could simply cease to exist. So we were at the edge of the abyss, but taking the anti-crisis management measures, you being as an anti-crisis manager, so you know, Maksym, even 3 weeks ago, I thought there would be no way out, that we would have to shut down, you know. But when you activate all of your potential, all of your experience, tap into that, you realize that crisis also offers new opportunities. It can kill you, but it can also give birth to something new, and that's what happened. So crisis did not scare me. That's what I wanted to summarize, Dr. Unitsky. So I did not fall into the abyss. I did not sit on my hands because I gave a promise, an obligation to hundreds of thousands of people. Imagine if we fall into the abyss and we disappear, then investors would say Unitsky lied to us, and they wouldn't care about the reasons. They would simply call me a scammer. But when I imagined that, I told myself I would never allow that to happen. And I will fulfill my obligations given to my investors back in 2014, when I, in front of the camera, said that we're building the biggest business in the entire human history civilization with your assistance. Come to us, believe in the project, believe in the technology, and we will do it. And we overcame that barrier that 99% companies do not overcome and shut down. Because quite a lot of companies shut down due to COVID-19, and we survived. We overcame that crisis, and now we faced even a bigger crisis, more serious, and we came out victorious as well. We were one of the 100 companies that overcame it. With new strengths, new opportunities, we're going to move quickly forward and scale up projects. The old logic is still there, but we're now using the new logic as well. And the old logic will not be used by marketing representative offices or UST Incorporated, by a huge corporation that will go to the government and say, we're building a project, just don't be in our way, we'll do it on our own. And if you want to be part of it, please join. If you don't, well, that's your call to make. We have our own investors. We have a whole army of investors who will support it for the benefit of future generations, for the benefit of the entire humanity, your country, your region. And we can even implement that project using only Vietnamese investors. If every Vietnamese invests $100 per year, that's it. We won't need any other investors from any other countries. And it's not going to be kind of a gray scheme. It's going to be a stock company, joint stock company, where every Vietnamese citizen will be able to purchase in the stock market and become a co-owner of the corporation that will be implementing not just one project, but many projects, because in addition to that main track, you'll need some branches coming to it. And it will all be done by the corporation, where our investors are going to be co-founders of that corporation. Because, after all, GTI is the co-founder, and all the investors will be co-founders of that corporation, regardless of where that corporation is incorporated, registered. So what is the key change here? Previously, we wanted to come with the technology, but now we will be offering a business which is based on the technology. So we come with the business and not a technology, which is way more serious. And it's a multi-sector business and not just one sector, industrial sector. Well, this is very important, Dr. Unitsky, and I think today for a lot of investors it has become not just a discovery, like eye-opener, but I think it became a global realization of our true course, of our direction. And the horizons that you've mentioned today wouldn't be open if right now there hasn't been support from every single investor who supported the company in that very important period. I would like to go back to our previous meeting when we had a joint live broadcast. You emphasized the one very important thing in the development of the technology. You said that we have already addressed all technological risks, and now we are at the business stage. And that business stage is all about scaling up. And in essence, we had two options here. A standard option that we've been using in the past and still using when working with our potential customers and holding negotiations that sometimes take dozens of years. That's your standard conventional way. And the second option, second way, where Dr. Unitsky decided to keep the reins in his own hands, and now, together with the investors' efforts who raise funds for this process, we can together ASAP implement projects locally by establishing corporations for infrastructural development that will speed up the implementation of the technology in very short term, where every investor will receive tenfold revenues. And summarizing what you said, the business logic here is as follows. The Infrastructural Development Corporation are already co-owned by our investors, at least 25% stake, right? Being owners of GTI, right? This is point A. Yes, 25%, yes, of that corporation. Point B now. So it's 20, yeah, Maxim, at the same time, 100% of all design works will be performed by UST, and UST is 100% owned by GTI. So yes, the design goes, all the revenues for design go to UST and to GTI, right? So that part is clear. Yes, I understand that. I just wanted everyone to be on the same page about what kind of prospects are in store for us in the near future in terms of technology scaling. So, colleagues, 25% is the stake in the Infrastructural Development Corporation in any location, Vietnam, the United States, Africa, doesn't matter where the corporation is. And the 25% from the revenues of the business that will be created and operating using all Dr. Unitsky's technologies and inventions. This is A. B, I guess, which is even more important for us, because by implementing those projects in those regions, 100% of revenues will equal 100% of net profits, because all will start from design, and design is the main business of the engineering company, UST Incorporated. So when engineering company receives money for design, for feasibility study, business plan, etc., related to the engineering, then 100% of money for that work, and in parallel, GTI will be funding the UST Incorporated and the entire group of companies for the operations, covering the operational costs. Then what we have here as bottom line, yes, this is very important to emphasize. That's how it should be. That's why crowd investing is very important. It should continue. So allow me to finish my thought here, because that thought is very important, because our investors need to understand the business model that is already in motion. So let me continue my thought. So investors, by investing in GTI through crowd investing, will make sure that the operational costs of the entire group of companies are covered. And what Dr. Unitsky said right now in terms of scaling, by establishing Infrastructural Development Corporation, all the money coming as payment for orders will be revenues, but those revenues will equal 100% profits, because not a single cent will be used to cover operational costs, because operational costs will be covered by crowdfunding. And it's very cool that GTI still has quite a lot of pre-IPO shares to sell from the original issue, but also Dr. Unitsky, being the majority stakeholder, can also sell his own pre-IPO shares if necessary. And we know that Dr. Unitsky has how many shares? Well, quite a lot of shares, but it's not for my own gain, because I'm not going to take that money from the sale of my own shares, because we will reinvest that money back into the operations. We need to emphasize that, because people think that I might sell shares just to keep the money. No, no, no. Yes, absolutely, dear colleagues. It is very important to understand. So the shares that are sold through the holding are quite a lot of them, quite numerous, and for now it is quite sufficient. But Dr. Unitsky can also start selling his own shares from his own portfolio if we need to raise enough funds, more funds for the GTI. For us, it's a perfect model. And as a result, what we can get us investors. So with such model in motion, it is not far off the time when we can start receiving remuneration not in small parts from like, I don't know, $5 million a year for all investors, but probably way more. For project Ho Chi Minh Hanoi, how much will it cost, that project? Well, the funding for the project is kind of 10% from that cost will go to GTI, which is $1.5 billion. Well, costs out of that money will be a couple of $100 million. Well, let's say $500 million. So we'll have a net $1 billion as revenues for profit sharing. We're talking about the design stage, but once the project is operated, then GTI, being a co-founder of the corporation, will start receiving regular annual income as co-owner, and not from the sale of tickets. No, from the sale of eco-houses too, from the production of agricultural products, power engineering, the electrical power lines that will be included inside the string tracks. Mobile and internet communication. Not everyone realizes that we can lay the fiber optics in the string track, and we can add internet, TV, everything there. And then we can add the entire mobile communication. We won't need satellites. We can do it all on land without rockets and satellite communication. We can do it all through our string tracks. That part alone can give more money than just simple passenger transportation, and way faster too. Because in order to have a payback on transportation, you need at least 10 years if you just sell tickets. But if you build houses, you can get the money right away, even before starting the construction and then operation, and it will give you regular income, annual income, especially for those who invested in GTI and who became co-owner of String Transportation, Unitsky String Transportation Incorporated, and who became co-owner of the corporation. And there you can share in profits at every single stage, from design, business planning, construction, operation. I'm talking about pre-construction stage, feasibility study. You can already almost start receiving payouts almost from the first day of the operation of the corporation, and not in 1 or 2 years. Well, Dr. Unitsky, what else I wanted to point out here is the recent publication of the memorandum of the strategy for GTI for the next 10 years, from 2025 to 2035. I know that you've been observing our meetings as well, watching our meetings as well, and I told our investors that those plans are for 10 years, calculated for 10 years, but something tells me that we can manage that plan in 5 years. Oh, probably even faster than 5 years. In 1 or 2 years, we can already achieve all the indicators with active crowd investing, of course. That's what I wanted to emphasize, dear colleagues. We're not talking about long-term projects here. We are a company that is already technologically viable. And it is in our hands, dear investors, the opportunity to help that business on the most lucrative terms, using the logic proposed by the owner of the technology, author of the technology himself. So, dear colleagues and partners, it is very important to emphasize that everything what Dr. Unitsky is saying right now closely intertwines with the GTI development strategy that we looked into like a month or a month and a half ago. So, Dr. Unitsky, I wanted to thank you separately for your unique vision of how you can speed up the implementation of your own brainchild, to thank you for your genius approach to that matter, and I understand why it's happening, because when half a month ago we were in that crisis situation where you realize that now 50 years of your life and work and health and efforts are at stake, that you dedicated to creating everything related to your technology, probably that gave you that push, that motivation to create that genius approach that you're offering right now. And I would like to extend our gratitude for being who you are. And I wanted to also thank all of our investors that right now we see unity and activity in our community, in our effort, and it's visible. It's we can see it in our sales volumes. In a couple of days, in 5 days, we covered the monthly expenditure volume. Probably we never did it in 11 years. Dr. Unitsky, I think you, being the owner of the technology, can confirm that. Yes, I confirm that. It took us just 5 days to raise the monthly amount. So, dear colleagues, this is all your merit, who are watching us live, who will watch the recording, who probably is not watching us right now, but supports us anyways. But we need to keep up the pace. Quite a lot of us is still in store of us, and quite a lot depends on us. Tactical and technical details will be discussed between you and I when we let Dr. Unitsky go. But Dr. Unitsky, in conclusion of your speech, I would like to ask you to summarize everything that you've said so far, to do some kind of a recap and give your parting word before you leave. Well, I even prepared some bullet points for myself, talking points for the summary, and convey the general thought, the main thought here, in a nutshell for you. So we are building a huge system, a very big system, a planetary scale system. And in any big system, it is important to keep the order of actions, otherwise you will fail. It is impossible to start with a facade if you didn't build a foundation. And foundation is the UST technology, and we have it. You cannot polish the windows of the shop if you don't have the production. And we have the production. As of the public registry, shareholders registry that many people talk about, this is the public stage. We're still going for it. We will come to it. And once we have the corporation, we will have the public shareholders registry, because it's going to be a public joint stock company. Right now, we're not a public company. And right now, right now we're in growth, and I would suggest we take a wider look at it. We're not reducing our goals. We are reinforcing our goals in a pan-planetary scale. We're not simplifying our task. We're evolving it to biosphere technologies, significant not only for separate countries, but for the entire humanity. And we are not weakening the organizational structure. We are strengthening it to the level that will allow us to achieve the goals that we set back in 2014 when I first spoke before you, dear investors, to create the biggest business in the entire civilization's history. Any serious engineering system first needs to become sustainable and then scalable. And we achieved sustainability by going through a very serious crisis, and it took us just a couple of days. We didn't need years for that. And that's what we're working on right now, together with the RSW Systems investment platform and the marketing platform Micron Global that will be launched in 10 days, as far as I know. Yes, I confirm. Is that so, Maxim? Yes, exactly, in 10 days. We're planning to launch the platform to start registrations on the 26/02/2026. Perfect. Well, in this case, thank you very much who listened to me, who support the idea, who become an investor, who understands our goals and tasks to save the planet. Well, the biosphere of the planet from the destruction that we're causing to it, humanity is causing to it right now. And we know how to do that. Thank you very much, everyone, for your assistance, for your support. Thank you, Dr. Unitsky. And using your words, we know how to do that. I would like to suggest all the participants of our meeting to take a musical break by listening to the "We Can Do It" clip. And after we watch that video again, I will have very important updates for you regarding the technical and marketing changes that I announced, and I will disclose some more details for better understanding. So, dear colleagues, I suggest we take a 5-minute musical break, and then we will continue. And Dr. Unitsky's words about we being able to do it, we can do it, are very well reflected in the clip, because it shows you the journey from visualization to the scale that Dr. Unitsky was talking about. Please note the second part of the video, the conclusive part of the video, where we see the implementation of all Dr. Unitsky's technologies that cover quite a lot of existing sectors in our everyday life. So all eyes on the screen, dear friends, and then please stay. We'll have some very important updates related to every investor in the UST technology.
Lights begin. The code runs clean. Machines awake, but nothing's seen. A measured breath, a silent cue. We start again. We do. Repeat, obey, repeat again. The system speaks, we understand. We can do it. That's enough. We can do it. Hard and rough. We can do it under rule. We can do it. Keep it cool. race. We stay confined. We can do it. We comply. We can do it. We don't try. We can do it. In the gray. We can do it. Night and day. Motion pure, no cause, no sin. Progress carved in discipline. Silence builds, the world resets. We do what the system expects. We can do it. We remain. We can do it. All the same. We can do it. Final tone. We can do it. On
Dear colleagues, we are going to continue right now, but before we continue, Dmitry, I would like you to put on that video, the last 30 seconds, but without the audio. I wanted to explain one thing to you, dear colleagues. You'll understand what and why. So while Dmitry is putting the video back on, in the chat, Dmitry, please enable the chat right now. I would like to hear, dear colleagues, on a scale of 1 to 10, or use the smiley faces. Give me some feedback about the prospects that you've just heard from Dr. Unitsky in terms of the scaling of the technology, but not just the technology itself, but about the creation of the infrastructural development corporation in different locations of our planet. I see tens, 100 millions, and I see only positive comments only. I see a couple of questions there, but 95% of answers is positive feedback. Well, someone says, very cool, Michael wrote, but we have like tens, hundreds, thousands, millions. Oh, I only ask you to do it on the scale from 1 to 10. I see you have technical questions. We will go back to them, but let's not use the chat for them right now. I will tell you exactly why I asked you to stay here. We had 1,400 people at the peak, considering that almost 1,000 people from Vietnam probably weren't able to attend today for the specific reason that I mentioned, the Lunar New Year. So, Dmitry, you can now launch it. So what Dmitry was Dr. Unitsky was talking about, the Infrastructural Development Corporation will allow us to launch, to implement what you're seeing on the screen in different countries and regions without additional efforts or difficulties related to bureaucratic procedures, the so-called red tape. So why this video, we've been showing that video to you during the funding optimization. because I had a clear understanding where we are going and what it will give us, that funding optimization in that critical point in time that we're going through, or probably even gone through. But we shouldn't be complacent, we shouldn't stop, because this is the future that is in store for us in the development of Dr. Unitsky's technology that you see on the screen. And you see Dr. Unitsky walking and looking back at his creation. Is walking as a person who is already bringing it to life. So there's a deep sense in it, and that's what I saw when Dmitry showed this video to me for the first time, that he created using the augmented reality, admixed reality tool, and using the real shootings that were made throughout the development of UST technology. So friends, right, we are expecting colossal results in near future and achievements, and a new stage in the scaling of the technology and in the evolution and development of the GDI group of companies. I can use Oleg's comment as my statement, final statement. Let's go for intergalactic scaling. Well, indeed, that's not so futuristic as it sounds. It is all possible through our efforts and Dr. Unitsky's personal input, who is never stopping. As he said, I would like to quote him during his previous or 2 meetings ago. He explained what success is. Let me read it out for you to give you a perfect quote. I think it's 10 seconds long, that quote. Just give me a second. A real success is moving forward from fall to fall with ever-increasing enthusiasm. So that increasing enthusiasm is what we saw in the person and words and speech of Dr. Unitsky, his rhetoric, and it is also partly our merit, because that enthusiasm, that confidence is also part of our merit, our micron of efforts. So we should be thanking ourselves as well. Well, friends, now let's move on to the technical questions related to practical tasks ahead of us. And let me remind you and tell you the changes that are going to happen on the 21st of February within the validity of the special offer, discount 700 plus, and those changes relate to the following. Until and through the February the 20th, we can purchase an unlimited number of packages with the bonus program activated. So what does it entail, the bonus program? It's when you purchase a package in installments and pay for it in one go, you get 20% on top. In 2 payments, 15% on top. 3 payments, you get 10% on top. And the terms of that promotion, of that bonus plan, will be valid until and through the 20th of February. From 21st of February, new terms will be valid, and I'll tell you why. Starting from the 21st of February, if you want to pay for the package in one payment, in one go, you will see in your back office a one payment packages with fixed discounts, with already included that bonus already included 20% bonus. For example, if a package for $10,000 you pay it in one go, it would give you 990 discount. It will be still 990. So you pay for a package for $10,000 in one go, you get 990 discount. From the 21st of February, you will not have the bonus plan system anymore. You can pay it in 1 month, 2 or 3, but you will not get that bonus on top. So right now we have an opportunity until the 20th of February and including the 20th of February to purchase those packages with a bonus plan on. Even if you understand that right now you won't be able to pay in full now, or probably you will do it, you will be able in future by proper financial planning. For example, you know that you will be able to pay in full. With the second payment in March, you will still get 15% on top. Or for example, if you do it in March, you will get 10% on top. So you have like 3 months to adjust your financial capabilities, and you have that opportunity until the 20th of February. Starting from the 21st of February, you won't have that possibility anymore. There will be installments and there will be one-off payments starting the 21st of February. There are different reasons here, objective and economically feasible reasons. Dear colleagues, you all understand that there is have quite a sufficient number of pre-IPO shares to sell, still dozens of billions of shares, and such discounts draw us closer to the time when we will have no shares to sell. So first, we are implementing that new plan to optimize the sale of shares in order for us not to sell too many shares. That's why we are giving a time-limited offer for that bonus plan. This is reason A, and reason B is taking into account the future prospects and understanding that we need to optimize and have the financial stability for the GTI group of companies for the operational, to cover the operational costs. Packages paid in installments give some financial predictability for that funding optimization plan in motion. It's called the GTI funding optimization plan to scale the UST technology. But as we heard today, that scaling is not just about UST technology, but about all related projects authored by Dr. Unitsky. And those projects, they also overlap with quite a lot of other sectors. So those restrictions that will be implemented starting from the 21st to the 25th of February are related to that. So, dear colleagues, I hope you see the benefits of the offer, of the current offer, that you need to make use of it until the 20th of February, because you will lock in the right to be part of that bonus plan. 15, 10%. Because if you pay for your package in full once, you will still be able to make 2 repeat purchases later on. For example, in February, you purchase a package for $10,000 before the 20th of February, and you pay $200 first time. Then in March, you decide to close that package. So you get, because you made it in 2 payments, you get plus 15% in March. After you close your installment plan, you will be able to make a second purchase of the same package, but you will also enjoy the bonus, the 20 or 15 or 10%. If you do it in 3 payments, you'll get 10%. Once you finish paying the installments of that package a second time, you can purchase it a third time. And again, if you pay it in 1 go, you get 20% in 2 goes, 15% in 10 goes, in 3 goes, 10%. From the 21st of February, you will still be able to purchase those same packages, but without the bonus program enabled. This is a very important thing that we all need to understand, but I don't think it's that too hard to understand. So, Dmitry, could you please enable the chat once again? Dear colleagues, give me some feedback regarding your understanding and the clarity of the value of that offer, and in terms of the understanding of how this mechanism is going to work. If you purchase a package in January, all your purchases made until the 20th of February will still have the original terms unchanged. We're not going to change anything. You can purchase 120 packages at a price, and you will keep that price. will not change anything. Well, I'm exaggerating here, but what has been offered, it will be valid until the 20th of February. And you understand that there is a limited number of shares as well. They have value. And you will see how with the scaling of the technology and all the projects that Dr. Unitsky mentioned today, the discounts will be decreasing gradually, and eventually they will come to their base market value. And the market value of recent was 70, even 50 and 45 discount, and we will eventually go back to those discounts. So what if the dollar collapses? So what? There are quite a lot of other alternative options out there. Well, let's not go into economic debates right now. Well, judging from your feedback, I think you guys are clear about it. I see hearts and tens and likes. Okay, friends, this is clear. So the bonus program 2015 10% will be on until the 20th of February. And then the entire discount program will be valid until the 25th of February. So another issue is with the payment system regarding the bank card payments in US dollars. So you might have noticed that from many countries you weren't able to pay in dollars. And the payment system we have right now accepts another currency, but not dollars. So what it was related with, there have been some fraudulent activity from some of the users, or probably there were like scammers who used bank cards, stolen bank cards. They used actual fraudulent schemes that affected, that made us eventually close that payment gateway, because of the demands of the financial regulator of the merchant of the payment system. So right now, that payment method is closed. And here, colleagues, we have quite objective reasons beyond our control. But take into account that right now, we live in time where there are quite a lot of fraudulent schemes out there. Unfortunately, it affected our platform clients as well. So right now, payment in dollars through bank cards is off. But now we have back payment in the CIS countries using bank cards. So CIS residents can use it. Hopefully next week we will be able to address the US bank card payments through payment system. And we expect that to happen early next week. So it is important to point out right now that citizens of the Commonwealth of Independent States countries can use bank cards and also start learning how to use crypto, because it's not that difficult. And there are quite a lot of tutorials out there on YouTube. There are official crypto exchanges in many countries, in those countries where crypto is allowed, is licensed, where there are licensed crypto exchanges that convert your fiat into crypto, and you can make payments in crypto. So where there is a will, there is a way, as they say. And I know that our entire community are people, investors who are always on the lookout for opportunities and ways, and find ways to implement those opportunities. So this point is covered. Next, as for the discount 600, many people were concerned that with the launch of the current discount, many people didn't see their discount 600 anymore. They're now back in their back offices. It was also a consequence of the DDoS attack that we had late January, when we had to shut down our website. As I told you, we addressed our task in 5 days, And I would like to express my gratitude to all of you and bow my head real low to each and every one of you, because it is our common cause. So discount 600 is now back, and you should still observe the terms. Don't think that if you use discount 700 or 800, and you don't need discount 600 anymore. No, the crowd investing process is a very long-term process, and we will use that mechanism for many other projects as well. And you heard from Dr. Unitsky as well that crowd investing is also a way of ensuring our remuneration, because by fundraising activities for fundraising activities, we make sure that the operational costs of the GTI group of companies are covered, and all the revenues coming to the company will generate net profit, and that net profit will be shared with co-investors. And we can use that fundraising platform for many, many years ahead of us. So the discounts that we have right now, the 700 plus, will eventually be decreased, right? After you use it 3 times, even after, when you will still be using it 3 times, the discounts for everyone else will be close to market discounts. And once you make your 3 purchases, you won't be able to go back. You will have to use the market discounts. So if you still have discount 600 available, you should keep observing the terms and conditions to be able to use it forever, even after the discount 700 promotion is over. I think this is it as far as the technical nuances and changes are concerned. Well, as for the launch of the platform, the date is still the same. Preliminary is to 26/02/2026, 26th of February 2026. That's when we're going to start registrations. Hopefully, after all the tests are over, all the checks are over, on the 26th, we can start registering. The format and the procedure will be announced next meeting. I think it will be the 22nd of February. On the verge of the launch, I will give you all the nuances. We will at least have the start of the registrations, and probably we will even be able to start sales. But we need to see the results of the test next week. So let's keep our fingers on the pulse, and let's wait for the official news to be published. I will tell you more about it next week for sure. Next meeting will be held either on Thursday, which is going to be, what date is going to be, let me tell you precisely. Thursday is the 19th of February, so it's going to be either on the 19th of February or on 22nd of February, either Thursday or Sunday. So follow the news and follow the schedule of our meetings. We will we will see how it goes. Well, for sure, on the 22nd, we are going to have a meeting. I think we will keep the same time, 3 p.m. Minsk time. I think it's the best time for Sunday, because by then our Vietnamese partners should be back from their Lunar New Year holidays. It's a good time for them, not too late for them. The Western regions, probably for them, it's not too early as well. So it's kind of a golden mean. So what I wanted to tell you in conclusion of today's meeting, today Dr. Unitsky lifted the veil on our prospects in the near future. We see a very adequate implementation of the technology scaling. Everything that Dr. Unitsky faced throughout his life for dozens of years and career is now being implemented in establishing, implementing the concept of Infrastructural Development Corporation, IDC, in different locations of the planet. That will help implement all the ideas in way shorter times than planned in the GTI development strategy until 2035. So Dr. Unitsky lifted the veil, showed us how it's going to happen. It's going to be a most transparent business conducting mechanism and shareholding mechanism. And once it is implemented in practical terms in specific regions, we will learn about it. I think Dr. Unitsky will share with us first about it, and we will see how it all look like. We will be the first to know about it. But also I wanted to tell you that here there is a very close connection between showing how those new horizons and prospects depend on the efforts of every individual investor. We see the horizon and now we start approaching it. And that situation that we were in, you know, Slavic people have that saying that our misfortune help us achieve our fortune. So that crisis situation that we found ourselves in gave us the necessary boost, motivation, and resolution to find a way out and out of this crisis. And I think we should thank Dr. Unitsky for explaining it to us. I see a lot of people wrote in the chat that we gave too much technological details. But you know, guys, Dr. Unitsky is first of all an engineer, and without explaining the fundamental things, we won't be able to have a complete picture, a full understanding of the cause and effect. That without those basic fundamentals that Dr. Unitsky was talking about in the first 30-40 minutes, we won't be able to see the implementation of the next stage. We wouldn't understand why the Infrastructural Development Corporation should be created, because those nuances mentioned by Dr. Unitsky, the business model, are based on technological, social, economic processes that Dr. Unitsky is carrying out right now. So, dear colleagues, I don't think it was a waste of your time, but probably it helped us be even more convinced in the genius of the Dr. Unitsky as the author of the UST technology. But not only, there are quite a lot of other promising projects that we will see implemented in the near future. So, dear colleagues, thank you very much for such huge attendance. We had 1,400 people attending live, and I would like to wish you the good rest of the evening. For some of you, it's late night. For some of you, it's late morning. And I'm sure that that week that's going to happen tomorrow, start tomorrow, will be as active as possible. And we still have time until the 20th of February to make the best use of the current promotion, to be able to make use of that bonus plan, 2015 10% on top, for 1, 2, 3 payment. And not to miss out on those opportunities that we didn't expect, I guess. So, dear colleagues, thank you, and see you on 22nd of February. That's for sure, but probably earlier. Bye-bye, everyone, and see you later.
Lights begin. The code runs clean. Machines awake, but nothing's seen. A measured breath. repeat again. The system speaks, we understand. We can do it. That's enough. We can do it. Hard and rough. We can do it. Under rule. We can do it. Keep it cool. The glass reflects, the wires hum, a sterile faith in what's to come. Hands aligned, no need to feel. Control becomes the new idea. Command received, delay, decline. We leave no trace, we stay confined. We can do it. We comply. We can do it. We don't try. We can do it. In the grave. We can do it. Night and day. Motion pure, no cause, no sin. Progress carved in discipline. Silence builds, the world resets. We do what the system expects. We can do it. We remain. We can do it. All the same. We can do it. Final tone. We can do it. On our own.